All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little San Francisco Giant video. Chris Russo was on the NBC Sports Bay Area Giants postgame show after Giants Red Sox Game 3 from Fenway. And man, did he let it loose. We'll talk about what he said coming up next. But first, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue you're going to find. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. Go get the brisket. The brisket's amazing. The brisket chili. The potato chips cooked in beef fat. I mean, it's all amazing, but I love the brisket. Huge fan of the brisket chili. So check it out. Pig and a Pickle. All right. We're also brought to you by Marin Autoglass, marinautoglass.com on the web. All right. One of my favorite segments that I've seen on NBC Sports Bay Area in a long time, and I'm a little surprised that they even went this direction, seeing that they are kind of almost, that the Giants own a part of NBC Sports Bay Area, so that you're not going to hear a lot of ripping. I mean, Laura Britt and Sean Estes, Rich Aurelia, Randy Wynn. I mean, they're not critical of the Giants ever. I mean, ever. The Giants could get blown away, and it's like the show should be called, like, let's look at the bright side. I mean, they're not hard hitting. They're not, I mean, I'm not saying they're stooges, but they don't rip. And they don't rip because I think they wouldn't be there if they did. So this is an entity, NBC Sports Bay Area. It's kind of like the flagship, radio. You're going to get, some discussion, and you're going to get some discussion of positive and negative things, but you're not going to get anybody who's really goes strong at anybody of substance with the Giants. So today they had Chris Russo on, and Russo is fiercely independent. He's got his own radio show. He's on ESPN. He's going to tell you what he really thinks. He doesn't couch anything. He's not going to pretend that things are great when they aren't. And he's just going to be a straight shooter. And I know him. I used to work for him, so I really know him well. And it's like, I knew he was going to let it all fly, so I decided to watch it and tape it. And man, it was not disappointing. And if you missed it.
How would you evaluate how Ziadi's done so far? Do you believe in his vision for the Giants?
Well, the Giants have been a very interchangeable team. He's been there now 5 years. How many good years has he had? One, correct?
Right. Yeah, 2021.
Okay. Now, if I'm on the radio for 5 years and I have one good year, am I getting a new contract?
Nope.
If you're a manager of a baseball team and you're there for 5, Belichick was in Cleveland. Belichick. He had 5 years. He had one playoff year. What'd they do? They fired him. That's Bill Belichick. Zaidi's not Bill Belichick. So, and they had Brady. Eventually, you got to win. So I don't think there's any. Listen, Kapler, to me, got a raw deal. I didn't love Kapler's hiring, but he got a raw deal. Everybody loves Melvin. I love Melvin. We all love Melvin. Bay Area, good manager, managers of the year. We have no issues with Melvin. But if you look at the body of work, when you're a general manager of a baseball team and he's in a big market, he's not with Kansas City. He's not in Tampa. He's in a big market. Is it his fault that Ohtani and Judge didn't take his money? Didn't take the Giants? Probably not. But he's been here for 5 years. They've had one good season. If I'm owning the team, that's not enough. Now, when is his contract up? Didn't he get signed a 2-year extension before the year began?
He did, yeah. Him and Bo Mel both did.
Well, Melvin is the so I guess they figured since they got Melvin a contract, they had to hire the GM for an extra 2 years too. I mean, I'll let you guys answer the question.
No, that's why we're asking you.
I'll do it this way. If I was the owner of the San Francisco Giants, and the GM with a big payroll has had one good year, and is this year 5?
It's year 6.
This is year 6.
He would not be running my team anymore. Sorry, I'm not doing it. I got to have more than 1 year, and he's got 2 more years. Does he have a job for life? I mean, my goodness. Do you think? Now look at it this way: Do you think that we were screaming about Brian Cashman with the Yankee fan last year, and Cashman's won World Championships and the Yankees are in the playoffs every year, and everybody still thought the Yankees maybe shouldn't have rehired him? And that's Cashman.
We'll just get you warmed up. First of all, he rips Scott Boras, and he says that Boras blew the Blake Snell negotiations, that he should have taken 150 or 60 million from the Yankees earlier in the offseason. That he tried to overplay his hand with Bellinger and Montgomery and Snell and Chapman, and that he wound up getting a whole lot less from the Giants. Snell did, and then he Dog mentions how Snell's only really had 2 great years in his entire career, and he's one of the weirdest baseball cards of all time. He's got 2 Cy Young awards, and in between he sucked. I mean that's basically it. He's either won the Cy Young or he's been pretty putrid. And this year he's been bad. And, I don't know. I mean, and he said that he didn't think he was going to have a good year overall, that he didn't have spring training. And, but then Dog went on and said, hey, look, the Giants have potentially a very good pitching staff. And I see the same thing. And of course, Alex Cobb's coming back in the middle of the year, possibly. Robbie Ray is coming back in the middle of the year, possibly. Those Dogs said, I'm not a big Robbie Ray fan, and I'm not sure why, but Robbie Ray obviously has won a Cy Young, and him and Cobb are coming back, and the Giants already have good pitching. Plus, they got Mason Black in the minor leagues. I saw the highlights of him last night. He's dealing. So the Giants have pitching. And they've got options as far as minor league options of guys that they could bring up that could help their bullpen. They had a great bullpen day in the final game of the Red Sox series, but, Dog just came straight out and said it. He's like, they can't hit. And that's totally true. I mean, that's the Giants. They've scored, they haven't scored 4 runs hardly at all in any games. I mean, in the last 6 or 7 games, they haven't scored 4 runs. They can't hit. The middle of the lineup's non-existent. Jung-Hoo Lee's hitting 250. Chapman's been awful. Soler's been awful. Slater's been ridiculously bad, like DFA bad. Wilmer Flores is one of their best hitters. He hasn't gotten rolling. The Giants offensively are punch and Judy at best. They're not a good offensive team. But Dog said, hey, look, if they can add a little offense and get things going, get a couple more pitchers middle of the year, coming back off the injured list, Cobb and Ray, that they'll be in the mix for playoff spot number 5 and number 6 in the National League playoffs. And then Laura Britt and Sean Estes asked him about Farhan Ziadi. And this is one where, and they teased, we're going to ask Dog about Farhan Ziadi. And then he kind of turned it on them and said, well, what do you guys think? And they're like, no, we're not touching that. It's like, why? Because you're working for NBC Sports Bay Area. But he basically said, hey, look, Farhan's had one good year, 2021 in 5 years. And he gets a new deal. He says, eventually you got to win. He says, if I own that team, 1 year's not enough. And basically he said, if I was the owner of the team, I'd fire him. So that's, you want to hear somebody who knows baseball, who doesn't have an axe to grind. If I come out and say, hey, the Giants ought to fire Farhan, people are like, you've got an axe to grind. You don't like Farhan. You're this, you're that. You're mean. You're nasty. You've never liked Farhan, all this crap. But when Russo says it, what are you going to say? You're going to come out and attack Russo? No, he's got a whole lot of credibility, and they don't have the ability to attack him. And he basically just said it. Hey, if Brian Cashman had one good year in 5, he'd be gone. He mentioned the Jets and the Giants coaches. He said one guy's had 3 years, the other guy's had 4 years. If they don't win this year, those guys are fired. And he basically came out and said, eventually you got to win. Eventually you got to do it. Eventually, he's got one playoff year in 5 years. This is his 6th year as the general manager. And if it was up to Russo, he'd fire Farhan. And he basically said that 2021 Giants team had Buster and a bunch of pinch hit home runs, and they were just an overachieving team. He also added that that Farhan has not put together a very good roster, and mentioned how there's 0 Hall of Fame players on the Giants roster. The Dodgers have Hall of Famers, the Braves have Hall of Famers, the Yankees have Hall of Famers. The Giants have no Hall of Famers. The Giants barely have anybody who's even an all-star. So he's crushing Farhan and basically said he should be done. And instead, the Giants ownership group aligned him with Melvin. And now, Farhan's got 2 more years after this year. So he's been doing it for 6 years. They've got 1 good year out of 6. And he's got 2 more years to do whatever he's doing. He doesn't land top tier free agents. He doesn't make creative trades. He doesn't have a farm system that's kicking butt with guys that he's drafted, despite presiding over the last 5 amateur drafts. This is his team. You can't blame Sabes. You can't blame Bobby Evans. You can't blame anybody. It's on Farhan. And for Dog to come out and just say, if I own the team, 1 year and 5 ain't enough. If I own the team, I'd fire him. And then I thought he finished with something that was interesting as well. He talked about how the Dodgers for $1 billion have not put together that great of a team. They got 1 World Series title since '88. They're playing Mookie Betts, who's their best offensive player at shortstop, which is just a huge risk as far as stretching him physically. He doesn't like the bottom of their lineup. He doesn't think their starting pitching is all that great. He thinks Yamamoto's just all right. So it's like the Dodgers are this $1 billion, favorite to win the World Series, but nobody cares what if they win 125 games in the regular season. They got to win the World Series. They got to do it in October. Otherwise, people are going to be like, what the hell? But I love the fact that they had Dog on today. Why? Because he's honest. And he's ripping the Dodgers, and he should, because they're, for $1 billion, you should have a better shortstop. You shouldn't have Mookie, one of your great offensive players, playing short. They got an iffy rotation. They got a bad bottom of the lineup. They don't hit in October. They've gagged the last couple of years against the Padres and D-backs, and Dog called it out. But then he also called out Farhan Ziadi on the Giants' flagship post-game television show. And how's that going to go over? And I love it because he's independent and he doesn't. And then I loved it when he's like, "Well, what would you guys do with Farhan?" They're like, "Oh, well, no, we ain't touching that. We're just happy to collect checks and give lightweight opinions. We're not tackling anything like that. That's for you, Dog. You're a big boy. We're just sitting here." I loved it. It was awesome. I can't imagine he'll be on again soon. It makes me wonder if there'll be a phone call from the Giants organization to the NBC Sports Bay Area people saying, "Hey, by the way, you just did a hit piece on our general manager, but you know what? He deserves it. It's year 6. They got more money than anybody in baseball. The Giants have a really, really, really rich team with a lot of money, and he's had 6 years to put it together, and he's got 1 winning season, and it was all with Sabes guys. What has he really done? And are they closer to being competitive with LA than they were when he got here? I don't think so. Doesn't appear so. And where are all these prospects that he supposedly was going to be awesome and draft all these prospects? Where are all these creative trades he was supposed to make? This guy hasn't done squat. And the team's anemic. They can't hit. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But it was a beautiful, beautiful post-game show. And I agreed with every part of it. I agree with his assessment of LA. I agree that Farhan should be shit canned. I agree that the Giants can't hit. I agree that Boras blew the Snell negotiations. And I agree with his assessment of the Giants, that they potentially have a very good pitching staff that's only probably going to get better when Ray and Cobb join the mix middle of the year, but they cannot fucking hit. They don't hit. They don't score runs. And guess what? You can win a game here and there, but you're not getting on any kind of 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 game winning streak if you can't score runs, and they can't even score 4 runs on a regular basis. So I love Dog. I love Russo. I love the fact that he calls it like he sees it. But to me, the thing that jumped out, if I was the owner of the Giants, he'd be gone. I'd fire Farhan. Pretty strong stuff from Russo. All right. Our title sponsor of the Krug Show is Pig in a Pickle. Appreciate them. And now a word from the sponsor of today's video, Aura. Have you ever typed your name on the internet and seen all of your private information is online? Are you tired of receiving tons of spam calls from random numbers? Are you receiving more and more of these as time has gone on? Well, that's where Aura, the sponsor of today's show, can really help you out. Data brokers sell your information to scammers and spammers and anyone else who may want to target you. Your full name, your email, your home address, all your records, your health records, who your relatives are. It's all out there. That's why I've been using Aura. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests for me. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam I get, but it also protects me from hackers who could use the information to help them access my social media accounts, my bank accounts, or any other sensitive information. Aura also does so much more to protect me and my family from online threats I can't see. I get other features like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without having to download several different apps. It's really easy to set up. And best of all, I get everything at one affordable price. I value my privacy and I value yours. You can go to the link in the description to start your 2-week free trial. And thanks to Aura for being a sponsor of today's video. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.